And it's time for Probono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Ruth is my name, and Princess Adana is here.
Good morning, Ruth.
Are you a princess?
You just called me once, so I'll take the
Oh
title.
my
Good
goodness.
morning.
So Princess Adana turns out to be a legal practitioner. That's why she's on Probono Chambers. So don't get it twisted, but it's all part of our name.
Thank you.
Okay, so on Pro Bono Chambers, we talk anything and everything legal. We provide you with free legal advice. So if you know that you need any, just stick around and don't go anywhere. So you can ask your questions at the right time. You know how we always do. We begin with a particular focus. We try to talk about something as bring you some enlightenment and education in a particular area. And then we proceed to picking your calls and listening to your questions. So yesterday we weren't even on at all. So many apologies for our absence, but we're happy that we're here. And then the day before yesterday, we had a very short outing as well, brief outing on air. So Barrister Dana being very, very passionate about, but of course, why are you giving me that look? About her job, and you that is listening to us right now. Oh yes, she wants for us to take a look at that particular topic we had earlier discussed or started discussing on Wednesday.
Wednesday morning, yeah.
We didn't have the opportunity to even open up the phone lines to pick calls and all of that. So we'll revisit this, and it is here is the question: is a certificate of occupancy enough to prove that a person owns a property? That is C of O. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So is that document enough proof of any ownership to a property?
All right. Thank you very much, Ruth. So I'll first by letting us understand what a C of O is. It's actually the document that is issued to us by the government after you had acquired the statutory right of occupancy. So if you have a grant of statutory right of occupancy, you'll be issued a C of O as an evidence to show that you have a title in that property. However, I must say that it's not a conclusive evidence. There are other documents that are part of what one would have as to show evidence of ownership in a property. It depends and also dependent on the circumstances surrounding your interest in a property. Some people had acquired property through gifts. So there's a deed of gifts to show that you acquired your property through the gifts. Some people had acquired property through purchase, and they have the deed of assignments to show that, of course, you've acquired your ownership of property through purchase. Some people had gotten it through several other means, like allotments by the government, where you have a grant. You've been granted a statutory right of occupancy and the rest of them. So, of course, there are various means of which people can have possession or interest in a particular property. And then it's either you're having an equitable title or a legal title to a legal interest in the particular property. So, before the advent of the Land Use Act, people who had interest in the property or ownership of property usually had the land certificates and the purchase receipts and the registered conveyancy as a source of evidence to show that they actually have a title to this property. But after the advent of, or since the advent of the Land Use Act 1978, the lands in Nigeria vested in the government as well as the governor who now gives you or grants you statutory right occupancy had people now show evidence of such property by the issuance of certificate of occupancy. That's the certificate we're talking about today. But then what we need to know today is if such certificate suffices as a conclusive evidence as to, stating that you are entitled to that particular property or you own the property. And then the essence of this topic is because a lot of people had entrusted much confidence and their hope on the certificate of occupancy being the only document or the most important document that suffices or shows someone's interest in a particular property. Even financial institution, yeah, a lot of people actually know that, certificate of occupancy. In fact, they think certificate of occupancy is the most important document.
I'm saying I'm one of the
land
people
document
so
that one must have to evidence their title to a property.
So obviously, from what you're telling us today,
it's not conclusively the only document that you need. Yeah. And then, it can be set aside by the courts.
Wow.
Yeah. And then,
why is that? Is it because another person can own it, for instance? for the same property, same land? Or,
Yes.
or what is
Another
it that
person
it
can
lacks?
own it. No. Another person can own it.
Okay.
But then what it's most relevant is the genuinity of its authenticity.
Okay.
Now, other than the land, the certificate of occupancy, there are other documents or other legal ways one can own a property. The law, the Land Use Act, recognizes that one can own a property via traditional evidence, and that is a way to prove ownership to a property. One can also prove a property by showing long possession of the property and enjoyment of the property, or even by settlement. That means to say that the Land Use Act recognizes persons who own the property without certificate of occupancy and persons who own the property with certificate of occupancy.
Can we understand that traditional evidence? What did you say?
Yeah, it's just like historical background of a particular piece of land. You know, when you want to claim ownership to a particular property, other than just showing this authenticated documents, the traditional title you have to that property, for instance, when it has to do with historical story on how the land passed to you, or if there are persons who were witnesses to the allocation of that property, just let us understand that before the advent of the Land Use Act, people actually owned property in Nigeria.
Okay, so are you talking about like the locals in the area where the land is situated?
People who have
You have
customary right of
like,
occupancy.
yeah, you have to have like perhaps a signature or a document from one of the chiefs or something like that.
Not a signature, not a document.
So,
historical evidence just has to do with the story, the background that surrounds the ownership of the property. They didn't used to be, of course, before the advent of the Land Use Act, they didn't used to be
any
such documents or anything. They were witnesses. They were let's say age grades, or persons who evidenced the transfer of interest in properties. Outside there were people who even acquired properties by means of settlements. They went to a bare land, they settled there, and they became residents of that place and then owned the place. So after the Land Use Act came into play, or even before the Land Use Act came into play, then of course revolution, civilization came into play, and then people needed to register the ownership of their interest in that property, and then they had the land certificates to show for that, and then registered conveyance and purchase receipt. And then I must state that before the advent of the Land Use Act, people who held land had a freehold interest in the land. Now, freehold is like absolute ownership of the property. That is what it just usually tells. But then the Land Use Act came into play to give persons who have interest in properties the leasehold that is subject to a limited period of time, which is usually 99 years. Now, Section 9, Sub 1 and 2 of the Land Use Act had placed power on the governor to grant statutory right of occupancy to any person who applies for it in a prescribed manner, or such person who wishes to have a statutory right of occupancy. And then upon the grant of such statutory occupancy, the person would be issued a certificate of occupancy. But then today's topic is to tell us that certificate of occupancy is not conclusively the only evidence that one needs to establish his title to a property. It's just a prima facie evidence. That means that the court can set it aside, or the court can state that it's null, like prove its nullity. And then in addition to that, persons who are holders of certificate of occupancy would not have a conclusive title on the property. So if the only document you have towards a particular property of which you're claiming to be yours, or a particular property that has adverse claims, it's the certificate of occupancy. It does not mean that you have a conclusive evidence that you have a right or interest or a valid title to such property.
So at what point do you actually have this valid right, something conclusive, or you never really?
Okay. If the certificate of occupancy is able to pass the genuinity test to ascertain that it's coming from the right issuing authority, or that is the appropriate authority, or that the issuer has the right to issue you such certificate of occupancy if the certificate of occupancy can pass the genuinity test. Of course, it can. That, and then it has to be accompanied by the other documents that one would need to prove their title to a property.
Okay. All right, we'll talk some more on this, but we'll have to go on a quick break at this point. Do stay with us. The program will continue shortly.
Human Rights Radio on 101.1 FM.
Ana shawartar mazauna birnin tarayya da su kasance masu mayar da hankali kan abubuwa da suka shafi tsaron kawunansu, a kuma kiyaye fita cikin dare barkatai, bugu da ƙari, mu kuma kasance masu saka idanuwa kan rayuwar 'ya'yanmu, musamman kan abubuwa da suka shafi shaye-shaye. Mu kiyaye ɗaukan mutane barkatai akan hanya, don hakan kan sawa ki rasa ko ka rasa motarka. Mu kiyaye aje abubuwa masu amfani a cikin motocinmu yayin da muka faka motocin. Sa'annan mu ɗaga gilasan motocinmu sannan mu kulle ƙofofinsu da kyau don gudun faɗawa cikin hannun ɓata gari. Mu dinga kulle ƙofofin gidajenmu da wundunansu da kyau. Sa'annan mu kasance masu kulle makarin gidanmu kafin mu fita don ƙauracewa azzalumai 'yan sani. Wannan saƙo ne daga sashin tattara bayanai da sanarwa ta birnin tarayya FCTA.
wọ́n ti gba àwọn olùgbé FCT nímọ̀ràn láti máa fura dáadáa kí wọ́n lè máa gbé láì léwu. Ẹ má jáde alẹ́, ẹ má lóògùn nílòkulò, ẹ máa fojú sáwọn ọmọ yín lóòrèkóòrè. Ní gbogbo ìgbà ẹ rí i pé kọ́kọ́rọ́ ìdáàbòbò ọkọ̀ yín wà ní títì gbẹngbẹng. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá sì fẹ́ jáde alẹ́, ẹ rí i pé ẹ ti fèrèsé ọkọ̀ yín dáadáa. Ẹ má gbàgbé àwọn nǹkan tó níye lórí sínú ọkọ̀ yín àgàgà. Láwùjọ ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ èèyàn kọ́mọ̀ bá fa ọgbọ̀n jálẹ̀kùn. Ẹ rí i dájú pé àwọn ilẹ̀kùn àti fèrèsé ilé yín wà ní títì pa nígbà gbogbo kọ́dàrán ọmọ bá láǹfààní àti wọlé o. FCTA Information Department ló mú ìkéde yìí wá sétí gbọ́ yín. Dem don advise FCT people make dem dey vigilant for safety matter o. No dey go out for night. No abuse drug. Monitor your pikin dem well. Make sure say your motor security dey kampe. If you wan comot for night for jolly, make sure say you no leave better thing wey get value for inside your motor, especially anywhere plenty people dey. Make you no attract bad people there. Make una close your house doors plus include the window every time. Make criminal for no enter. This message na from FCTA Information Department.
Ndị ọma na-ege ntị, ana m asị udo dịrị unu. A na-eme ka onye ọbụla mara na ọ na-adị mma ike nkwụcha, wee na-asị onye ọbụla gbaa mbọ tinyere ụmụaka ya anya, mara ka nwa gị si eje, mara ka nwa gị si anata. Onye tinyekwa n'aka n'ịnwe ọgwụ na-ekwesị ekwesị ma ise nke osise, maka na ọ na-emebi ndụ mmadụ. A na-eme ka ị mara na ịpụ n'abalị na-ekwesị ekwesị adịrọ mma. Ị ga-apụgodo n'abalị, a na-eme ka ị mara na ọ dị mma ịkpọchisi ụgbọala gị ike. Ekwekwana ka ihe bara uru dị n'ụgbọala gị maọbụ n'efifie maọbụ n'abalị, maka na ife ọbụla bara uru dị n'ụgbọala ọ na-ebute anya ndị omekome. A na-eme ka ị mara na ọ bụrụ na ị nọrọ na be gị ma ọ na ị na-apụ apụ, fie isaa n'anya ka ị mara na ụzọ be gị na mpio be gị na ịkpọchisiri ha nke ọma maka ndị omekome. Wee na-asị atụọrọ ọmara ihe mana atụọrọ ofeke ofenye isi n'ọhịa. Ozi a site n'aka ngalaba ịgbasa ozi ọma FCTA wee na-erute unu ntị.
Amagbajaje eyifila Abuja kinsidei agaishawalage ilaro guazin yakan na benukwe mbatatnjileyu yitashizalaba nsukwe yitasan ayasasin yiche yimiashigbenukwe yije yikaya biwe nsahasahai nhanyadelo haji hakogudei nsahasahai nhbabianu nsukwe haidala na zaboye tafayamana na anya dnayo yekwashin kwa gyanza nu kwa ibeche yishi akwaba guvie na bi nsahai na vitabo ababa lefin yebede kwai kokun Abuja kizigna awidna bokunu.
The whole of Africa, come along with me, let me unveil the face of Nigeria.
Residents of the FCT are advised to be more security conscious so as to keep safe, avoid late night outings, and always ensure you have your car security locks on and wind up windows if you have to go out at night. Be careful who you give lifts to avoid car snatching. Never leave valuables in your car, especially in public places, as this will attract burglars. The general public is also advised to abstain from drug abuse, as this can lead to more crimes in the society. Always keep an eye on your children. Ensure that your house doors and gates are locked at all times to prevent intruders from gaining access to your home. Know your neighbor. If you see something, say something. Stay safe, stay alive. This message is from the Information Department, FCTA.
Making the world a better place every day. Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
Join our diverse team of legal experts as we provide education and guidance to you, our listeners, on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Pro Bono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back on Pro Bono Chambers, 25 minutes into the 10 o'clock hour. My name is Ruth, and today we talked about whether or not the certificate of occupancy is enough proof that a person owns a property. Barrister Adana did justice to that, giving us a lot of explanation in that light. But if you still have any further questions you want to ask on this matter, feel free to call in and ask. If you have other legal matter questions, you can also call in and ask those questions as we open up the phone line right this minute. The number to call is 081-8999-1011. That is 081-8999-1011. That is the number to call. Pro Bono Chambers provides you with free legal advice, so think about it. Well, I'm sure if you even have a problem already, you don't need to think about it. You already know what legal matter, question or problem or situation you may be currently in, and you will just hit the phone lines. Please turn off your radio. Morning, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, but you need to be more audible. First time caller, we cannot hear you very well, please.
Hello?
Good morning. Hello? Okay.
Sorry about that.
Please, when you are calling, just try to make your voice as audible as possible. All right, so we all can hear you very clearly and be able to respond accordingly. 081-8999-1011. Hello?
Morning. Good morning, Auntie Ruth.
Good morning to you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Muhammad Usman, calling you from Cuba.
Okay. Nice to have you here.
Okay. I don't have question regarding to any issue about the Pro Bono Chambers. What I want to ask you is that it has been long I heard from Uncle Harold Spice.
Oh.
So I am missing him. I say let me hear if he's around.
Well, he should be fine, and I hope he is listening to you, so he will know that someone is missing him.
Okay, my regards to him.
All right, thank you.
And the ordinary president also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, nice to have a well-wisher for a first caller. All right, 081-8999-1011. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Ruth.
Welcome.
This is Usman from Suleja.
All right, Usman.
Sorry.
Whoa. Okay, let's not have the network behave like this, please. Let the calls come through so we can really have a conversation with you. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Could you turn off your radio? begins to happen like this, it is far from encouraging, but please don't be discouraged. Keep trying. I can't explain why this is happening, but remember always to turn off your radio when you call in, please, to avoid that unpleasant noise. All right, 081 8999 That is the number to call. Hello. Okay, so would give it some time to rest, I guess, and let's see if possibly it will behave subsequently. In the meantime, we'll go back to Barrister Adanna. You have some form of advice in light of, for those who want to purchase any property, or what exactly is the...
Not really for those who want to purchase any property alone, but for those who engage in transactions with persons who claim to be owners of a property.
Okay.
So, you know, we had talked about property a lot of times, and then we had tried to advise our public to engage themselves in comprehensive due diligence before they engage, they buy a property or do any form of transaction on a property. Now, to the best of my knowledge, you know, most persons who even had called before on this program had stated that they had had transactions with financial institutions or mortgage institutions, and they had to deposit their certificate of occupancy. And that is what they actually